The 10 days are over, and that was a difficult but wonderful experience. My second Vipassana retreat, 2 years after the first one, without having kept up my meditation habit as much as I would have liked in the intermittent 2 years. And so it was tough, and I nearly quit 3 times, I think. Day 3, day 4, and day 5 or 6. Kept fooling myself into thinking I didn't need to be here, and it would be okay to leave and just go meditate somewhere more comfortable. And managed to realise that I was fooling myself, just like get out of the suffering. And yes, realised some new insights, gone deeper into meditation, and reacquainted myself with some ideas that I'd kind of lost touch with from the last time I did a Vipassana retreat, which I kind of was still telling myself intellectually but wasn't really feeling so deeply. And so they are, or probably most significantly, just how significant the practice of sitting without moving at all for an hour and meditating is. And so 3 hours a day, in these retreats, you sit without moving. You don't open an eye, you don't open your hand, you don't open your legs, nothing. And that becomes very, very painful and incredibly uncomfortable. After about 30 minutes, after about 45 minutes, it's just hour, not over yet. It feels like it's been 2 hours, and at some point it's all over. And you get through that by consciously, well, the strategy is to observe your bodily sensations in a routine way. You move piece by piece through observing your body, and just observe, what do I sense in this part of my body right now? Oh, that's tingly, or that's itchy, or that's warm. As soon as you notice a sensation on that part of your body, you move to the next part, and you do this. You do it as you get more and more uncomfortable, and you if you notice a really strong pain or something in another part of the body, you just kind of ignore it and focus on the bit you're trying to focus on. And yeah, so I talked about this in my other video, but this reacquainted me with that, how incredibly effective this practice is for building a number of skills outside of meditation, which are like having a balanced response to emotional difficulties, not just being reactive whenever you feel something painful physically or emotionally, and rather just seeing the reality of what is. And also then this other idea in Buddhism of anicca, that things are constant, everything is changing constantly, everything will change, even if everything will change. And so although it's painful now, it won't be painful forever, and as soon as the practice is over, it's not painful. And even the most severe thing, even everything eventually comes to an end in death, and so all pain ends. And when you just embody this feeling of the impermanence of everything, whilst objectively observing the true reality of things, then you have a more equanimous reaction. That is, you have a way more balanced response. You come closer to not having craving for a different, more positive feeling, nor having aversion to the negative feeling you're having. And so, the pain, although you're feeling pain, you don't necessarily have a negative feeling in relation to that pain. Or although you had you're having a really strong positive feeling, you don't have too strong an attachment to it. You can experience it for what it is, but when it's gone, you don't crave it again when it's over. And this practice of just observing the reality of the bodily sensations trains that capability. And this particular strategy, it's claimed, is to do that is really useful, because the way we react in the outside world, when we're not in this beautiful prison camp, is through feelings in our body. And by practicing this technique, we become much more skilled at noticing the feelings as they arise. And so we notice changes in the intensity and the speed, the tempo of our breathing, and notice different sensations in the body as they arise. Until there's one day, I think day the day I nearly quit on day 5 or 6, I was telling myself, okay, I could go to another place now. I don't need to be in this retreat anymore. I'll just go to Prague and relax there, and I'll do my own retreat there, because here I can't sit comfortably because I've injured my ankle, and so I'm not getting enough food, so I'm losing weight, and that's, although these very minor things really, they weren't really significant. But I was telling myself, yeah, go to Prague and do it. And I nearly left. I was like 95% sure I was going to leave and go to Prague. And I just questioned myself, okay, well, what would myself 10 years from now, if I want to prioritise him over me, my 10-year future self, what would he prefer me to do? Would he prefer me to stay here, to finish this retreat and see how it goes, or to go to Prague? And I told myself, it's probably about neutral, I don't really mind either way. But I still felt, well, maybe I'm fooling myself there. So I tried another technique called Murphy Jitsu, which is Murphy's Law is this idea that everything that can go wrong will go wrong, and Murphy Jitsu is imagining your future plans and them going wrong, and how they could, if they go wrong, how would they have gone wrong, and then thinking of strategies to overcome those things that go wrong before they happen. And so I imagined going to Prague, what could go wrong? Okay, maybe I'll get distracted by meeting people and getting in conversations. So how can I avoid that? I can lock myself away in my room. I can, and all these things made me realise. I thought some other possibilities that could go wrong, but they just made me realise. Well, if I leave here, I'll be just as uncomfortable as I am, but in another place, whilst also being way more likely to not keep up with the practice. And so, when I did that, I totally changed my mind. I thought, well, there's just no point leaving, so I may as well stay here. And then I started walking around this beautiful forest, this path which I call the middle way. I imagine other people have coined it as well, which is the path that runs through the forest. These are the rooms, actually private rooms here. Everyone gets their own room and ensuite, and it's totally free. You can donate money at the end if you like. But this is the middle way path. And here, I was walking along here, and I was just, my mind was racing with thoughts, as our minds almost always do when we're doing our thing. And I was just thinking about how I would explain why I had left and not been able to meditate, because I hadn't been able to sit down comfortably. And then I imagined myself telling people about the strategy of meditating whilst walking, which is you just slow your walking down and focus on your breathing, and just notice the air going in and out of your nose to do that, generally you have to slow down your pace. And I just started doing that, and it was phenomenal. I slowed down my pace to like one step every few seconds and just focused on my breath, and immediately felt like the cacophony of sound, which I hadn't even noticed, had just disappeared, and everything just fell into peaceful, calm silence. And I hadn't even noticed that there was any frenetic, kinetic energy in my mind, and all this noise and explosions of chaos, I guess, which is like the feeling that a lot of us have a lot of the time in our minds. But just as I slowed down immediately, I was able to tap into the meditative state of mind, and I slowed down and everything became so peaceful. It was magnificent. It felt really beautiful and calm, and I slowed more and more, and I probably took about 20 minutes to walk up this 100 metres of path here, and I came out at the end into the forest, and I just came to a complete stop, and I felt something I've been able to experience in the last year through different meditative practices. I felt that my consciousness, for the first time, when you ask someone where's your consciousness, most people, where are you? What like the idea of you? I am. Where am I located? Most people will say I'm here behind my eyes, and that seems to be an illusion. That's obviously where our brain is, and that's where our eyes are. But our consciousness is filled with experiences of sight, sound, the senses, and thoughts from all over the place. And so it doesn't make much sense that this is where I am located. And this was an idea that was quite alien to me in the beginning. I was quite sceptical of it. But then I did then I began to read more into neuroscience and think, yeah, actually this makes sense. I read Waking Up, the book by Sam Harris about the neuroscience of meditation, and that opened my mind to this idea a lot more. And then I did a mirror meditation, where you meditate in the mirror, you look at yourself, and you notice that you can't see your own head, but you can see your reflection. and I just felt more connected with that person in the mirror, that one there, than this one here. I couldn't see this one, so that one felt more like me. And then my consciousness, I just noticed that my consciousness was everything, and I was everything. And that reappeared when I was slowly walking through this forest, and I came to a stop, and I just felt like I was one with the forest, which sounds very cliched, but it was it was just very incredibly calm, and I'd say slightly joyous, but calm was the overwhelm, peaceful, just totally contented. Yeah, so that was a really significant moment for me, and then I decided to stay for the whole duration of the course. And it's been difficult. It's been difficult to sit down. It's been difficult to concentrate at times. But I've had lots of insights about the nature of my life and the nature of consciousness. So that's what I'd hoped for, and they weren't the insights I'd expected. And I don't think I got as deep in meditation as I'd hoped for either. I think mainly because of physical injuries. I wasn't able to sit cross-legged on the floor very much because of an ankle injury, and sitting in a chair brought back an old injury to my ribs a little bit, and so I felt like I didn't want to sit down as much as I would have liked to, and so I couldn't meditate for as long as I wanted to. And I wanted to share just one more thing. I've forgotten what it was. So, just had one major insight was after breaking up from my long-term relationship many months ago, I think I finally reached acceptance, which is pretty awesome. In the beginning of the retreat, I was still thinking of ways that I could prove that the relationship was still worth another shot. And now I've come to accept that my life is perfectly fulfilling as it is, and I don't require anyone else to make me whole. But our relationship can blossom into another friendship if that's what it needs to be. And I realised that acceptance is not a destination either. It's like I'm entering the hinterland of the city of destination, of the city of acceptance. But I'm not at the point. I think the point of total acceptance is probably something like complete giving of love to this person without wanting anything in return. I'm probably not quite there yet, as I'm not with most people. But that's something that this technique also fosters, is like incredible altruism and compassion towards other people. Here is the path I termed the middle way, and I will say farewell until next time.